Peace, everybody. What's up? It's your boy Aseer the Ducateers. We out here. This is August. It doesn't even matter what day it is, but it's August, the day of the great passing, or what we call the lunar eclipse, who started off the coast of Khalifa, which made its apex around the middle of the understanding hour over Carbondale, which is right outside of like Morocco, Illinois, and then you got like below that Tennessee, you got Memphis, so that's Egypt. Then you got the Nile right there, the Blue Nile. Then it's gonna make its leap off of the actual continental United States at the 33rd parallel, coming out of what they now call Charleston, South Carolina. But it's gonna bounce off the 33rd parallel. So that means after the 33rd, it's going down and out into the universe. So the last time this happened, everything that was the old republic was basically topsy-turvy and turned into this thing we're in now. So now that we're in this version, it's interesting that we see all of these things that are basically like almost the dream of Moors like Nathaniel Turner and the other Moors that gave their life in the Great American Revolution that started in the Moorish calendar in 1511 AD, or in the true time 1511 AD and culminated by 1776, and then from 1776 went into an interregnum period up until 1791, and then after 1791 we had the disassociation by which now the Barbary powers had to extend their jurisdiction over the European colonialists that were now going against the original treaties and stuff that the Moors allowed these pseudo-European powers to enable for themselves. So basically we speak of the French Empire, the British Empire, the Spanish Empire. We're really talking about an amalgamated Moorish or Moor influence, meaning Moorish stock genealogy, right, behind it, and then now their children reaching a certain age of majority where they now wanted to have kingdoms or whatever amongst their own customs that was now dealing with the other version of Islam, which today they now call Christianity, but back then it was basically, you know, a different political ideology. You had people called Mozarabs who were Christians who lived like Moors. So that's why when you could be in the provinces that was owned or under the jurisdiction of the Great Beys and the Deys and the Bashars, you would be able to, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the Muslim, the so-called Hebrew, and the so-called Christian, because they all said Assalamu alaikum. They all called God Allah. So this also shows you that there was a uniformity under the jurisdiction of the true Moors, meaning the high priests of Anu, who themselves were the true genetic stock of all of the high priesthoods and all of the royalty from all of the different dominions that were a part of the greater empire that flourished after the so-called flood. Because everybody after the flood was then under admiralty law for a certain degree. That's why Noah was so adamant about the breeding program that he was going to initiate after. But when we say Noah, we're really talking about Gilgamesh. See what I'm saying? And when we're talking about Gilgamesh, at certain times we're talking about the so-called Sumerians, which is another name for Moors of a certain Far Eastern phenotype. But regardless to who or what, we lead to today with this great eclipse now being a reversal of what was done to us. So this is why now, this is the first time in history where I can remember where I'm seeing white nationalists, actually so-called white nationalists, meaning white racists, as well as so-called white liberals. And when we say white, we're not talking about the skin color of the people. We're talking about the political ideology, being that they were part of the Union Society Magna Carta Code under the Roman K of C, the KCC, the KKK, the K of C, and the KFC. So all of those lettered organizations have military aspects today that we wouldn't know about because we're not so-called white supremacists. But these people who have to ensure their modality based on this inferior ideology have different pockets of terror cells that they use to establish stuff. So these are the people who, in the higher regards, they'll have, like, you'll see them with shamrocks on their tattoos, but they'll have like 4 shamrocks. That's a hammer skin. That's somebody that's really like putting in work, you know, killing black people, you know, raping Jewish women. Like this is what they into. So this is the society that they know now is waning. It's now eclipsed. The world that we have now entered into post this eclipse now is the whole like new bountiful world now, because this is the time now when the true Moors, right, meaning the true high priests and priestesses, right, they're really going to come out now and be seen, because we're the only ones that have been talking this nationality, birthright, nationality, inheritance thing from the beginning. Nobody else was talking about that but Garvey, and I got proof that Marcus Garvey was in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I got pictures of him right behind the prophet, because I was blessed to be in the audience of one of the few elders that was actually able to hold it down for our generation, but thankfully she was able to preserve it. Whereas a lot of Moors would have used it as a means to make themselves look like they got more influence than somebody else. I'm just benefiting from the wisdom that is now opening for everybody. You see what I'm saying? Based upon the fact that everybody is taking themselves out of the equation. Look at the conscious community from the time that the elders was here to where it is now, right? For those people that was in it, for those people that was really doing it now. Look where it's at now. Look what these people have done to themselves, man. Like look what's really happened. People have literally removed themselves from being applicable to this type of true divine ecclesiastical doctrine, because it's not really based in religion. We are not religion based. It's based on true custom and customary law that was only be set by certain people. So we as Moors have something that's referred to as most favored nation status. We as Moors are here and blessed to be able to benefit from what our ancestors put down from us, for us to better the mistakes that they made that got us in this thing in the first place. I've read the documents. Read some of the writings of some of the so-called sultans. Everybody talk about sultans and they are this, emirs or whatever, but they couldn't give you a true succession line of the true Osman Ali bloodline of sultans. They couldn't give you the true Alawite dynasty line or Sharifin line or Idrisi line of these Moors, or even the natural Moors that was already here. They still got Moors trying to be Indians. I'm not wearing this as an Indian.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? Indians didn't wear this. This is not what Indians wore. This is what Moors, who were called Indians after a certain time, wore. And those people who started calling them Indians were the French. That's only because they started calling the Moors Frenchmen after they started calling them Spaniards. Because the true basis of the empire was now being broken apart, and you had different factions now, the Moorish children, who were now coming in to rebel against their parents, and they now want to set up duchies and things like that. That's where you got His Catholic Majesty, George III and George II in them, and Charles V and the rest of these people. They all came out of the Moorish Empire, because that was what was rocking since the Crusades, buddy. Look, get the movie Kingdom of Heaven. When we talk about the difference between the Mozarabs, meaning the Muslim Christians who lived as Moors but worshiped, Christ in the truest divinity sense of the divine nature of man. And it will show you the difference between them and then the Templars, who were the Freemasons, who were trying to wipe those type of Moorish Christians out and go straight to war with the true Moors that were allowing their children, the Mozarabs, the amalgamated Moors, the Moriscos, right, who had slaves under them called the Janissaries, the Odalisques, and the Mamelukes. And so when they took control, they allowed them now to have dominions in the name of what they were doing. And so this is where you get the British Empire, which became the British Empire. This is where you get the Spanish Empire, right? What's the other one? The French. Same thing. So here we are today at the fall of New Rome, New Babylon, New Chemical Egypt, right, as it was called. And now they're creating a false situation where, okay, boom, look at what they did. The Eclipse is coming. They get rid of Dick Gregory. They get rid of Jerry Lewis, who I already thought was dead long before that. So that's crazy. Got rid of Jerry Lewis. Then they popped some black man in the face. Then, to distract everybody from all of that, they went and triggered however many people in 3 different cities to shoot 4 or 5 different police, all within 15 to an hour within each other. That's called a coordinated strike. You understand? For people that understand psychological operations. But psychological operations have become everyday apps that people apply to their life and don't even care. So what's really going on is the war between the Brotherhood of Eagles and the Brotherhood of Death has now reached a fever pitch, where now everything they're doing to correct the system that is now going back to its original pattern is now being redacted or reversed. In other words, they're being locked out of the same system that they have been manipulating up until this point, because the parameter and the time that was given to them was up and they usurped that. So the Prophet was the first one, the Prophet Noble Jew Ali was the first one in history, before the Federal Reserve, before all of this was set up, to tell everybody what was going down with it, and created a generational skipping trust for all of us who are the faithful, who consider ourselves faithful at least, to benefit from in the 8th or 9th generation, which is us right now. So we are now about to reap the benefits. Those of us that have been laughed at, those of us that be pointing at us like, oh, look at the funny people in the hats and all of that type of stuff, like, it's good, man. It's good. It's good. Everybody making tapes about Moors and how Moors ain't real and Moors shouldn't do this. Remember those people, B. Remember them, because they're going to be the first ones ransoming their children to get close to a Moor who's really right and who's really exact and who understand what's happening internationally and how this benefits all of humanity, really. But you got people focusing on the distractions, like they got the chick, the Caucasian chick who got arrested, who everybody's going in on, all of that for the TDN accounts and that type of stuff. Like, all of that's related. But again, in the court case, because our law was privileged to allow me to know somebody that was actually at the building in the court case, sending me transcripts of the shit so people could say what they want. But I had a Moor, was blessed to know a Moor on the ground, who sent me the direct intel. And in that intel, they had her listed as an African American. Ain't that funny? And all she kept talking about was the original jurisdiction and the original this and the original that and the original source code. What you think they're really talking about? So then the white people, when you monitor the so-called white patriot, so-called sovereign citizen blogs, because Moorish Americans, we're never or could never be sovereign citizens. We don't even need that type of talk.
Nope.
We were born sovereign. We were born as the goal. So we don't gotta show and prove that to nobody. That's for the aliens. That's for the people who are the descendants from the abolitionists, the so-called Christians who were enslaved during what they call the Christian slave narrative years. That's another word for white slavery, when they was when the Moors was enslaving them based on what they was doing to the Moors over here. You understand? This is where the American Revolution started. They came into it late. So this whole thing with the TDA accounts and all of that, them being reversed, and they can't, by September 15th, it ain't gonna matter. It take a contract 30 days to cure. This past August 15th was a whole change in the dichotomy of the way that the system is programmed. So now it's automatic. Look at the ACH rules. It's automatic same day. So if they're reversing something on you, that means they're trying to take money from the account that they know is already prepaid twice and trying to charge you liability for it, which is the exact essence of what fraud is. Think about it. It's your account, right? And they want to prosecute her for trying to use an account that's not hers, even though she used her social security number. And and actually it was the guy who bought the RV, her partner or whatever. He bought the RV, and then they tried to go in on him because of how he did it. But again, it's from his account, so they got to prove that it's not him. They don't want this to go to trial. You understand? They don't want certain things to go to trial because then it's going to be public record. The accounts is already open. The problem, people, is this. There's different levels in the account in different ways and aspects of accessing that account. And if you are a United States citizen still and you have not declared that you are something else, then you could be going to jail because you are basically violating the same antitrust laws that you're saying they're violating, because they're still listed as your custodian, and you're still listed as a dead person. So if you just an average everyday person, hear about it, use it, it might go through, might get reversed, but at the same time you keep doing it, they might come at you, because that's now you trying to step up, saying that you now can run the trust, and they know that you can't. Now there's no U.S. citizen, because that means you property, you're chattel. In order to do this properly, you have to have a true nationality, which means technically you need to be a non-U.S. citizen national, which then means you have an allegiance to a certain state. Now that layman, the average fool educated in the basic United States political or geopolitical system will tell you that means that you have to be loyal to the state that you was born geographically in. That's not what the language says. The language says you have to have permanent allegiance to a state. So my state, or our state as Moors, was permanently fixed here as the Al-Maghreb Al-Aqsa, also known as the Al-Awasim, the Great Expanse, or the Great Frontier. That's the difference between those of us in the empire and everybody else in the kingdom. The kingdom is the satellite for the empire. So we in the empire fell the hardest. So them in the kingdom now, they starting to rebel over there, because they want to be now, go back to the Riffin system, which is outside the present banking system that these people are using, you see? So this is a global thing based on nationality. And the people that are the most affected, let's extrapolate everybody using their TD accounts to its conclusion. Everybody, let's say, get nationalized, that's Moors. Let's deal with it from the Moorish perspective. All of us, that's Moors. This is what happens when you pay a bill. When you do that once on the bill, right? That money that's automatically taken, that's your, as the principal, especially if you declared it, especially if you have a nationality outside of it, especially if you turn it into a trust in the state. You're the principal regardless of what they set it up for or whatever. Because it was fraud for them to set it up and not tell you. It was fraud for them to set up an insurance policy on you so when you die they can collect on your insurance and not tell your family. That's a crime, because if you did that, you'd be in jail. So this is why they can't take this to court like that. At least the trial. They'll try to get you to plea it out. But go to trial, they're going to get rid of it. Long story short, you pay for that one bill. That money that's extracted from that bill is $1 or however month money is taken off of whatever project and money that your bond and your certificate was already pledged against, which is already being used as a collateralized monetized certificate with insurance policy on it that has to be maintained, right? So that means they have to take insurance out on it, which then means that that's money now coming from whatever black ops situation that they already got. Because now if people are paying their bills with no problem, that's more people that's actually going to work. Then more people that's actually going to work, that's more people that are actually now, while they're at work, they're being more productive, which is also on the back end bringing down the national debt by them discharging it directly like that as the principal. Then what happens now is that stops a lot of the banks now, though, from being able to lend and everything at the interest rate that they doing, because as soon as they lend you the money, you can discharge it. What's the sense? How they going to use that against you? How they going to be able to control you? They're not. So what happens now, that's less stress on you. That gives you more free time to actually delve into yourself, which then means you're going to start eating better, which means that's less money going to junk food, which means you're going to basically be happier because you're going to be making more money because you're not scared about where you're going to live, how you're going to eat, whatever, right? Then at the same time, you're going to be eating better, which means you'll have more money to buy better food. So you're going to take less GMOs. So Monsanto not getting money, Kellogg's not getting money. You see where this is going? And then eventually now, you stop doing drugs because you're only doing drugs to escape the fact you don't have money in this reality in the first place, right? So in that, once you... Come on, guy, you got to... Just stop it. You gotta stop it. You threw me off. So now you don't have to be out here getting high all the time to escape this reality because you're making this reality better. So now, boom, that means CIA not getting no money. That means cartels not getting no money. You see what I'm saying? Because now we're talking about the spiritual resurrection of the planet through what they call silent or unregulatory means, unincorporated associations. Now that people are creating other avenues of currency exchanges like Bitcoin, direct trading policies, things like that, the way that now indigenous governments can create their own free trade agreements. These are the things that we supposed to be delving in now. But Moses keep talking about, yo, my business. Yo, my business is doing this. My business is doing that. Jay-Z got $1 billion. Jay-Z got $1 billion within that system. You know how much more money he would have had if he didn't go into the Def Jam system and just maintain him in terms of the quantum money that he was making at the time that they was independent? He would have had triple the money he have now. But he didn't want to do that. He wanted to be into the game because he agreed to be in the game as a poster child to get y'all to follow that. So then when he dropped so-called 444s, everybody start to wet theyself like women, when really this nigga's not really telling you nothing that Bobby Hemmett and Brother Daoud and C. Freeman L. and Steve Coakley and Khalid Muhammad and who else? Delbert Blair and everybody else that's here gone now. Dick Gregory, right? Everybody that's been telling you what it is. But you don't want to listen to them. You listen to Jay-Z because he got a chick named Beyonce who was a babe once who know less, and now she gonna give you the dance and that's it. You even got these pundits in the conscious community. These niggas is all sycophants. They fans, and you see it on them. They'll talk all of this stuff about these dudes, but then when they around them, they gonna give them passes. Because in the end, everybody want to be included. Everybody want to be accepted. But in this waning society, at the fall of Rome, you shouldn't want to be expected by people who are actually your footstools and are going to be made your footstools, not because even you doing it. We ain't doing nothing. We doing what we've been doing. We've been talking about what we've been talking about. The world is catching up to where we at. It was the conscious community. It was the energy of the spiritual energy and the karmic buildup, the dharmic buildup of the energy that got people like Obama elected. But I told people before he got in that he wasn't going to do nothing for y'all. But what he did was create a doorway for people to see the avenue by which they now can ascribe to. But at the same time, you can't do it if you're still under somebody else's jurisdiction. You can't do it if you're a minor. You can't do it if you're going by what somebody else say this thing is, instead of you taking advantage of the same treaties that's there to benefit everybody. They benefit all of us. The more our ancestors provided for everybody. That's why everybody hate on us. That's why everybody want to claim us and say that we something else, or try to get us to call ourselves something else. When I say I'm a Moor, I'm talking about myself in the highest, let's say, ancient self, right? Going back to ancient Phoenicia, ancient Egypt, all of that other type of stuff. But that's still a worldly concept. But those people were dealing with metaphysically hyperdimensional realities at that time. So I'm also calling that when I say that I'm that, with this knowledge now, right? When I say I'm a Moorish American, I'm giving myself a geographic location by which I can extend my dominion outward. Because after the deluge of what they call Peleg, this was the area, the land that rose out of the land first. Out of the deluge, the waters of the great flood first. In everybody's story, that's what it's saying. So I ain't making it up. Read that the same things that apply. How is it that they got stuff from 200 years that they can use over you, but you can't use stuff from 50,000 years over them? More still asking permission to be what they naturally are. Because we have been put in a constant state of fear of being ourselves. So all I'm saying is, let's stop being afraid and just do what we got to do. And all we got to do is declare it. It seemed crazy, but the act of actually having something on documentation out there that says that you are not a part of what they say that you are, on a material level, translates higher in a spiritual level. That's why it's really important, the intent and how you do it, and how you're able to use the parameters that's out here for you to do it. That's why you got white folk banging on white folk now, because they know that some of them gonna have to find a way to survive. And in this new planet, the only people that's gonna be civilized enough to be able to treat and enact all of these old things is us. That's why everybody in the world is talking about the original black man and black woman. Why they still trying to be making TV shows like Insecure, Awkward Black Girl, Blackish, all of this crap. Still claiming to be African American when they know African nation is actively pulling for you. They tell you, this is how you know you're not African. Haiti applied to the African Union to be down with it, and they told them no, that they're not African, so they can't be a part of it. They can only be honorary members. What does that tell you then? That tell you that our Africans are the Haitians because they over here with us, and all of us are Almoricanos, which means that we Moors of this republic, this great land, this great empire, and a lot of that is coming back to us. So as we read out, I found this old joint. I wish I had my glasses. I may not be able to do it. Nah, I'll read it next time because I ain't even got my glasses. I need my glasses. But this is a speech, oral statement by the prophet that I don't think anybody ever read. And we're going to get into that in the next joint. But essentially what's happening, like I said, with this eclipse is that this is the end of their whole situation. So this is the beginning of that. This is what we would consider the Ides of March for people that know history and stuff. So now is the time for you to really start getting your nationalities things straight, for real, for real. Now is the time for you to start to look into establishing the states, your trust, for real, not as a U.S. citizen, not as an expatriate, not as an American Indian, not any of this garbage that is not as an Israelite. Like, none of that stuff is real. You understand what I'm saying? There's no, when you say that the Moroccan Empire, you saying the Israelite Empire, you saying the Egyptian Empire, you saying all of that, because we're the ones that kept that preserved. You understand? So we are now in a great position now to step up as the true landowners, so long as we have true viable governments that could actually vouch for the true faith and credit of the people to enact the treaties that have now really been reenacted. And I know because I done seen it. But, so that's why I'm not out here with the debate and talking about being a Moorish American. It's not like being into RBG. It's not like being a Nawapian. It's not like none of that. None of that stuff is like this. All of that stuff is elements of this, because all of that stuff came after this, and nobody can tell me different. So again, man, I'm not trying to down nobody's religion or ideology. I'm saying all of that's cool, but all of that's Moorish science to me. I just don't feel that y'all can see the connection in it. So I'm dealing with the whole, y'all dealing with the aspects. So keep dealing with the aspects. Those of us that's dealing with the whole can basically commiserate to create the true confederacy, to reenact and do the same thing they did to us. This is the time for us to do it. This is the time for you to enact. This is the time you talk about sex magic. I saw a cracker today walking down the street right after the eclipse, and he had an Order of the Golden Dawn t-shirt on with Aleister Crowley on. It's the first time I ever seen somebody out there like that. I asked him, I said, yo, you the Golden Dawn? And I thought, oh, you out here doing rituals. They already know. And it was all yellow, because that's fear. Yellow is fear in the spectrum. So again, they fearing what's happening. This is the Black Planet thing. This is what Crowley predicted for them. This is the helter-skelter that Charles Manson and them been putting out there. You understand? But they got these little homos, like these little young rapper homo dudes, worshiping Marilyn Manson and stuff like that to get your children away from the true black hole sun that's really opening up. That's basically the empire calling back his children and giving them the dominion. Literally with the touch of a button. Being able to pay for everything and not have to worry about no debt. The whole world changed in an hour. What you gonna do then? What you gonna bitch about then? What you gonna do then? How you got people in the conscious community, these niggas praying to money. What you gonna do then? When that fiat currency, if you found with it, they shoot you. That's where it's going. So get ready, Moors. If you're not ready, you better get ready. I'm almost like itchy thinking about it. That's why I'm just like, yo, this is the time, man. So again, holler at me, House of L. Look into alternative forms of currency, because that's all popping now. Like I said, if you're gonna deal with that whole stuff and you follow behind with these patriots and these dudes naming themselves after Batman characters, that's cool. You want to do that, but in my opinion, it's best to establish your individual nationality as a part or parcel of the true empire, your acknowledgement of the prophet, at least as a Moor or prophet to the Moors. You know what I'm saying? Your acceptance of the fact that we are the Aboriginal or indigenous peoples or Tonkin American peoples of North Central and South America, also known as Al Maghreb Al Aqsa, the Societies Republicae Ilimaricanos Estados, as well as establishing your private estate and trust by annexing the name that you are now claiming, or that they was claiming over you. You are now taking the name and consolidating that as an estate and trust that you can now draw from directly. So when you do use it, they can't come at you no way, and you know how to get down. God forbid it got stupid and you had to go to trial. But by this time, I don't even think it's gonna matter. So again, we as Moors have most favored nation status. We also have what's referred to as fiscal immunity. Look that up. That's only for the most favored nations, and we're the most favored nation because we are the one that's most beset or begot by the Most High. Not because I say so, but because that's what all of the societies that have ever made compacts with the descendants of the ancient Moabite peoples have said about us. So again, assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Nat Turner, for initiating this great rebellion that started almost 200 plus years ago. Thank you, Brother Dick Gregory, who always seemed like